Not sure how to tackle your taxes? Are you sweating the small print? You may be experiencing FOMO, the fear of messing up. The answer? Using TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They help you get your biggest refund, and then we help you do more with it. With a personalized plan designed to help you hit your money goals. It's time to take your taxes to the max. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Well, joining us now is Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis from the great state of New York. Congresswoman, it's so great to have you. Give us your reaction, because you probably heard in the last few hours, President Trump came out and announced that he is going to sign this emergency order that will at least allow TSA to get paid. Thank goodness, right?
Yeah, look, this is tremendous news, both for the TSA agents and the travelers. I mean, these long lines have been really inconvenient for Americans trying to just get to where they need to go. And quite frankly, President Trump took this type of leadership and decisive action during the last shutdown that was caused by Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, when he moved funding around to be able to pay our military men and women. So this is good news. This is a real step in the right direction. The problem is we still need the Democrats to come to the table and fund Homeland Security. I mean, we are in a situation here. It's the 25th anniversary of September 11th. We have the World Cup, you have the Olympics, you have all the America 250 events that are taking place. We are in a conflict with Iran. The Iranians have in the past made threats to attempt to assassinate our president, to cause harm on our soil. And we need to know who is coming in and out of our country. We need counterintelligence and cybersecurity to be fully funded, as well as we need to make sure that, ICE is deporting criminals and those people who are trying to do us harm. And so the reality is that this is great for the TSA agents. It's great for the travelers. But we still need to fund our Department of Homeland Security. And quite frankly, two New Yorkers, Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, should know that more than anyone else.
You talked about DHS. What's the timetable now? I mean, Congress goes on, break tomorrow, right? So do you think anything's going to change with the other departments, with the DHS overall by tomorrow? Or do you think TSA gets funded and nothing happens in between for the next 2 weeks? What's sort of the estimate?
Well, look, House Republicans voted twice to fund Department of Homeland Security, actually 3 times now, to fund Homeland Security. This fight is really between the Senate and the White House, because Chuck Schumer needs to deliver 7 votes in the Senate to give the 60 that are necessary to pass any type of funding legislation. So, we're kind of on standby. We're waiting. We're happy to stay. We're happy to come back. But we need the Senate to make this type of agreement with the White House on what they're going to do. I mean, the fact that Hakeem Jeffries, he voted against it. He whipped his caucus to vote against it in the House, but we still had the votes, and we managed to pass it. The thing is, Chuck Schumer's not delivering those 7 votes in the Senate. And so what happens is, you have a New York senator who is the minority leader, who has control because he needs to give those 7 votes in order for any financial bill to be passed in terms of funding our government. I mean, what just happened? We saw an 83-year-old man, a veteran, killed, being thrown in the subway tracks by an illegal immigrant. You saw a New Jersey resident being killed by a drunk driver here, also illegally. You saw this woman in Chicago being shot in the head by an illegal immigrant. All this stuff happened in the last week or so. And you still have them saying, we're going to hold up funding Department of Homeland Security because we don't want to fund ICE. We don't want to fund ICE. They're saying they don't want to fund ICE. They don't want to fund Border Patrol. They don't even want to know who's coming in and out of our country at a time when we know that there are terrorists attempting to do us harm. And, look, we've caught hundreds of terrorists at our border during the Biden administration. Thankfully, we caught them. But what about the millions of gotaways that came into our country? We don't know who they are, where they are, what their intentions are. Why would you not want to fund these critical Department of Homeland Security agencies? to me, it's shocking that a New York member of all, knowing what happened on September 11th, would not want to fund our Department of Homeland Security and would play this game even after the head of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, was removed, which was something that I actually said should have been done, that she should have been replaced. And I was very out front about that. And, they de-escalated ICE tactics. They made a lot of different changes to the agency, and still these guys do not want to Homeland Security. To me, that's unconscionable.
Yeah, it's like there's no negotiating, it seems. We talked with Congressman Mike Lawler earlier today, Congresswoman Malliotakis, and he had some very choice words for Chuck Schumer in particular, calling him an SOB. What do you think?
Well, it was interesting. Mike Lawler and I were actually in a meeting today with Chuck Schumer, and it was related to the MTA, actually. But during that meeting, Mike and I did go after Chuck Schumer on this, and we said, you need to fund Homeland Security. You need to fund Homeland Security, bottom line. And the fact that the reason you don't want to fund Homeland Security is because of ICE and Customs and Border Protection, when you just saw multiple Americans killed by people who are here illegally. To me, it makes absolutely no sense. So we did go after Chuck Schumer in that meeting. It was a private meeting, but we did go after him on that. We pressed him on that. We told him to fund Homeland Security. It's ludicrous. And again, two New Yorkers, Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, of all people, should know at least how critical Homeland Security is. This is an agency that was created after the September 11th attacks. And we're not funding them, really, during this important year when there's so many events critical that are going to be crowded events that are for America's anniversary, for the 9/11 anniversary, the World Cup, all these events that are happening. And they're not going to fund Homeland Security because they want to continue to just allow people into this country illegally and not deport criminals. Now, I agree with some of the tactics that were used. We've seen the de-escalation. We've seen the head of Homeland Security changed. Those are significant steps. And to hold up Homeland Security at this point is just, I think, ridiculous. Frankly.
I think it's unconscionable. I agree.
It's unconscionable. And you know what? I really hope nothing happens. I mean, because honestly, New York City still continues to be a top terror threat. It's why I went up against Kristi Noem and Homeland Security when they tried to cut $100 million from the NYPD for counterterrorism because they did some new formula that wanted to punish sanctuary cities. Now, obviously, I don't agree with New York City's sanctuary policy, but we need to support our NYPD, and I pushed back on that. And with the help of President Trump, we overrode what DHS did at that time. We got the $100 million for our NYPD, for counterterrorism. It's critically important. So I'm willing to go up against my own party if need be. When it comes to these issues, they're that critical. But I don't see why Chuck Schumer's not doing the same thing and standing up to the radical left and saying this is what's in the best interest of public safety and national security.
Yeah, it seems like they're all kind of folding in line with this radical policy, and Chuck Schumer seems to be leaving his spine behind. Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis, before we let you go, you got a shout out from the president tonight at the Greek Independence Day event. Were you there? And of course, our owner-operator, John Katzimatidis, and our dear friend, he was there, and Margot was there. Fill us in. Were you there at the event, and what did you think?
Yeah, it was a beautiful event. Look, obviously, the United States and Greece have so many values that we share. Democracy being the priority. And John was there and Margot were there, and they were on stage front and center, and the president honored them and recognized them. I was proud to be there as a Greek American in Congress. And, I guess the question I have for the president is, who is the bigger movie star? Is it Melania Trump or is it John Katzimatidis?
Yeah, that's right. From his big role in Marty Supreme. I mean, my favorite line was, Nicole, he said when President Trump brought John up, and you and I, obviously, we've known John for so many years. John said, we used to compete against each other. And then he looked at him and he said, and you won.
You know what? That is right. That's funny. And, John, I think, I think he's a little sore about not getting an Oscar still, And so congratulations on your Gracie Award. But, John kind of deserved an Oscar there, And we all love John. And Marty Supreme was a a great movie. I happen to be a ping pong, table tennis, just tennis in general fan. So people who did not see Marty Supreme, they should definitely check it out. And you'll see John Katsimatidis in there. We're all so proud of him as Greek Americans just to see him in that role. And I'm sorry he didn't win the Oscar, but I think he's a little sad about that.
Well, you know what? Maybe next year he'll be the lead actor. He was so great in the movie, and I loved seeing him in it. And I loved seeing John and Margot up there on the stage, so beautifully honored. A beautiful shout out to WABC. And the two, you could just tell there's just a beautiful relationship there. It was so, so special to see that.
Look, we're all New Yorkers at the end of the day. We love New York City, and we want to see it safe. And, of course, John is the biggest promoter of common sense policies for our city.
He is. He is Mr. Common Sense. That's why you and I love him so much. Nicole, thank you so much, and congrats on the nice shout-out, too, also for you from the president, too. Thanks so much, Nicole. And listen, let's hope the Democrats get some of John's common sense and start doing funding for DHS. Nicole Malliotakis, thank you, the great Congresswoman here from New York. Thank you.
Have a great night. Thanks.
You too. Thank you so much. And thank you for the sweet words, too, Nicole. Thank you.